A memorial service in honor of boxing legend Dingaan Thobela is currently underway in Parktown. The former three-time world champion passed away in his Mayfair apartment after battling illness. Thobela was 57 years old. Thobela who was born on the 24th of September 1966, held 3 world titles in 2 weight divisions in his heyday, the WBO, the WBA lightweight titles, as well as the more prestigious WBC super middleweight title he won in the year 2000. He was the WBO lightweight champion from 1990 to 1992 and the WBA lightweight champion in 1993. He competed professionally between 1990 and 2006. Right, let's cross now to that memorial service of the late Dingaan.
And the sharpshoot it was amazing because sometimes boxing and then mama were able to communicate, even brothers and sisters in the street. There was no nyaupe by then. Youth was dedicated into going, listening and watching TV. And Eddie, if you still remember, during those times, masidlala ibhayisikop ngoba umzwile umfundisi ethi besidlala ibhayisikop emashop, I mean ezikolweni. One of the schools that I was given imadlelweni lapho ke ebesihlangana no mama Dingaan bengoba besifunda sonke kulapho ke funeke manje ifilm irim A1 funeke mayidlala siyazi ukuthi mayiphela sithathe sise kwenye indawo and kule ndawo funeke iyofika kuye eshawela abantu bayimele. So you can imagine the speed of Dingaan Thobela because ebaleka ephethe le rim ukuthi ifilm ingathi iyenza abantu babe annoyed and then they will break the windows and all that. Kuba le danger leyo. And even you know as a youth uDingane engifaka it, you must know ukudrive wena lento ukuthi manje sogijima sisizinto lefuna ukwazi ukudrive and we that no lo funeke simfundise. I remember one time bengifaka ku steering we break down ushawa inyawo nje ukuthi clash down foot brick up, clash down foot brick up, and then I even learn ukuthi no ukudriver kanti nje ngifunde very harsh. And there were moments sibuya sizomtshela uEddie sithi Mona cadet le beku the only cadet ebegijima ngaleso speed saya ngayo eRustenburg in and out, driver at 180 kilometers per hour. Sashiya any traffic cop of a white man who was angry. He chased the car, he stopped the car, he called all his guys and says this young man driving this car and he stole the car. And then they checked, and when they looked they said, the Rose of Soweto, are you Dingaan Thobela? Dingaan Thobela. And then with a smile and a humble voice, yes, sir. But don't drive like that. We still want to see you in the next future. So Eddie, you played a major role in our lives, not Dingaan, to coach. You were a father at a very early age with no parents. But Dingaan, he loved his family very much, to an extent that we went to Tutuza to find his biological mother. Suze I train, and then we managed to figure khona basitshela ukuthi no, if you can make arrangements sometime you can come. But it was a very difficult time. uDingane ebenabo omkhulu ababili, omunye ke ebekade close naye kakhulu ubebembiza ukokwane. Now and then, if anything, I told you a good will run to Kokwane Guti. This is what I've achieved. But to say to the family, the least, there are a lot of things that I could tell you that South Africa has enjoyed. Potchefstroom Road would be closed if uDingane ewinile. Even how fast your car is will just stop it because Dingaan has won. And to the family, you are not the only one who has lost. We're also lost as South Africans. And people as far as Botswana, others are communicating to say this is real. Our brother is gone, but is with God. But wherever you are, my brother, the chains of struggle are not yet over. Our youth is still outside. Tell them there. Tell the Madibas, tell the Sisulus and the Oliver Tambo that the country is not yet free till we see. We know that you are a very humble person. You will understand when you send the message. To the family, thank you very much for giving us such a great talent, and to the community of Soweto. Who is the champ? Who is the champ? Who is the champ? Thank you very much.
That was wonderful. Thank you very much for that. I had to look where that voice was coming from. Can you guys recognize that voice? There is no way you cannot recognize that voice. Yo, thank you very much, Sisi, for we hope to hear more from you. It can only be you with that voice, eh? Thank you very much. That was fitting. And also thank you to the friend of Dingaan, Mr. Jonas there. If it was anybody else, I would have cut you now because they kept coming to me and said, hey, watch the time, watch the time. I would have been that guy that walks around and looks at the clock. But I think you told an incredible journey that you took with Dingaan Thobela, and I think it's important that we share those stories because there are people that are trying to tell their own narrative and are trying to control the narrative of Dingaan Thobela, people that didn't even know Dingaan Thobela, and us who are in this room that knew him more than anybody else. It's important when we come here and we talk about the Dingaan that we know. So thank you very much there, Mr. Jonas, for sharing that, and no pressure on the other speakers that are coming up next. But I didn't hear you say he played football. Did he play football, Dingaan? I heard you talk athletics, any other stuff, but no football.
Yes, he does.
He played?
Yes.
Okay. But he was a big fan of Orlando Pirates.
Yes.
Big fan of Orlando Pirates. That's what we know Dingaan for. He was a great man. Not only was he a great boxer, but he also knew how to pick his football teams. Imagine if he was a Chiefs fan and we had to talk about that now. A champion like this cannot be associated with teams that are fighting for top 8, guys. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad also you shared his love for books, because many people don't know that Dingaan actually attended a teacher's college, and he attended that with Nsema Pike. I also found out last week when we were remembering him on radio that he was actually in the same teacher's college as the likes of Nsiyese Lancelot Mapike. So I'm glad that that we are sharing those stories, because usually they say boxers are uneducated, boxing is a poor man's sport, but we have a lot of success stories that have come out of boxing, and it's important that we share those also. And another one of those success stories, renowned boxing promoter, legend of the sport, not only here in South Africa, but acclaimed globally and internationally, a man who's put South African boxing on the map. He was there for some of Dingaan's biggest win, promoting some of those tournaments. Mr. Rodney Behrman, I'd like to call him up also to come and say a few words. And as he makes his way here, we like to give people their flowers when they can no longer smell them. And I want to give credit to Mr. Behrman, because he never forgot Dingaan Thobela. I remember even at one of the fights of Kevin Lerena, when Kevin was fighting, you invited Dingaan, you called him up as a WBC champion so that people can see that we have a WBC champion in the country. And thank you for not forgetting Dingaan Thobela, Mr. Behrman.
Thank you very much. As you can see, I wasn't prepared to say anything today, but at the same time, it is truly a great honour that I've been privileged to say a few words about one of the greatest fighters, not only in South Africa's had, but that I had the pleasure of promoting. And before I carry on, and I was just listening to previous speakers, I think that maybe as Golden Gloves and a fighter that was so precious to us, the greatest tribute I could pay to Dingaan is, and I'm going to speak to my team when we get back and we'll put this into motion. I don't know if it'll be for a charity, for a promising boxer, but I am going to, as I make a promise now, we will have an annual event which will honour, maybe not an event, but a prize which will honour the great Dingaan Thobela. So that's, I don't need thank you for that, truly. You know, what can I really say about a great, great fighter? We're going to hear a lot about his boxing prowess. You know, I understand, and I've understood in later years exactly what Dingaan meant at a time of apartheid to the black community. And I was actually on television, I think on Saturday, and the guy kept alluding to Dingaan being so important to the black community, but he was wrong, and I got a bit cross, because it's not a question of colour. Dingaan was an unbelievable fighter. Across the board, he was loved by everybody, so I hated just to hear that one section of the community. What can I say about a fighter that in the history of this country, there have been only two great fighters who have had the distinction of holding the famed green belt, and one of those was obviously the great Dingaan Thobela. And when you were crying about losing to Tony Lopez, believe me, I shared it with you. We arranged that fight. We put it together. When he was robbed, we felt exactly the same. And we went to great, great lengths. I wish I could sit here and tell you the lengths we went to lure Tony Lopez back to this country, to give Dingaan his due, and the rest is history. He won. He also holds the distinction of, in all my, that's now going into many decades of boxing, the most dramatic ending in a world title fight in this country, when he fought Glenn Catley. And that, if you haven't seen that, go into your YouTube and watch that last round. It is unbelievable. Dingaan was losing heads down on all the scorecards. He'd ballooned up from a lightweight in 1993 to a super middleweight in 2000, and nobody had given him any hope of winning except Golden Gloves. Anyhow, with 20 or 30 seconds to go, in the most dramatic fight I've ever seen, Dingaan stopped Glenn Catley with, like, as I say, 20 seconds to go. And
a service there remembering Dingaan Thobela.
Good day, everyone. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I know at this juncture, we are all devastated. We are all shocked. We are still trying to grasp everything that has just happened in front of us. But we cannot lose hope, because We are believers. In short, I just want to welcome everybody and all protocol observed. As a youngster that was brought up in Soweto, schooled in Soweto, I got to know Dingaan from those humble beginnings. I went to the primaries of Soweto until the high school. The high school that I went to, which is Kanontwana, in Sinawani, which is just a stone throw away from where Dingaan comes from, at Chawelo. As young kids, as we know, because we're quite involved in sports, and the grounds that we used to go to, the Elka stadiums, where we would play different sporting codes. And so runa uniform runa ko Kanontwana nearly green and gold. And Nerigwariwa at that time, but would take it with grace. But in the long run, I went to form a group, Yabasadi, where we had Wozinzi, the late Zinzi Mandela. And that group also played a very important role in the societies of our country. She was at Operation Hunger. Operation Hunger that we all knew that served the people of South Africa, the destitute, those who are in need in various forms, and we took the kids from our streets to motivate those kids, to take them through Kadi weekends, and would invite the likes of Dingaan to say, come and motivate these kids. Come and talk to the youth, because we are the youth of today. And he did it with grace. He was humble, he was dedicated, he was everything that any kid would like today to say, I wish I could be like that particular man. But going forward, as a legend that has won 3 times, it has never been seen. This man unatrapa. Une atrapa Dingaan. Di uppercut sa gagwe. Bonko go bontate mogolone ba utlwa ba re ke japo or ba re ke jupo or ke jap. Uppercut. And you ask yourself, how does he know or how does she know? Gore gona le ntwe visually di uppercut. But Dingaan would make us people of Soweto very proud. 3 o'clock, you remember those days, the boxing near Dingaan, that the time zones were different. We'd wake up in the morning to watch the fight. Kadi television is on, it's black and white, and he made us proud. Going forward, there was a fight in Eluko, Kosko Sun City. That again, he did wonders. And we said to Dingaan, we want to have these relations with our rural communities. I then spoke to Dr. Ngatani at that time, who was the president of BSA. I said, when we leave Sun City, can these buses, all these athletes that are here, we go past at Royal Bafokeng. We were hosted by the late King, Lebone Mulutlekhi, at that time. He said, we want to take this forward with our communities, our kids in the schools, do these programs of boxing. And I'm sure Dr. Ngatani, if he is here, will attest to the same thing. But we tend to lose focus somewhere along the line. Because people who's got the wallet to sponsor, they will make promises that they are never adhered to. And I want to appeal today that all the institutions, all the companies, all the business people who are able to sponsor some of these sporting codes, open your wallets. We see today our children are suffering. Nyaupa iphile batla, Viper iphile matla, in our societies. Bojwala, ke ntletse, ebile ba posa ka bona mo strateng gwa jive. Di na le dipina tsa teng. But how do you blame the kids? No. We can't blame our youth. What are we doing as the elders? We are bombarded by malls in our society. Cultural centers are not there where these kids can go and do something very valuable. I was heard on Friday as we were heading to Dingaan's home. I saw the facility, Kochawel. That facility is not in a good state. And those other councillors that were with the family, you made a commitment, and I'm going to hold you to it. You made that promise that you'll make sure that that facility that is there is going to be converted in what he wished for, which was the Rose Boxing Academy. Let's make use of that facility. Let it not go to no use unnecessary when it is there. Let's convert that. And I spoke to Baba Thobela. Kar Papa, we're going to make that facility to be available to the street kids that are sitting there, because that building has been taken over by the kids, by Nyaope. Is it right? No. And the very same kids that are sitting there in those facilities, they are struggling. So through the journeys that we've had, we engaged in a number of businesses as well with Dingaan. And he would say, hey, presentations, it's hey, I'm humble. So just to make these presentations, because go boxing, we need money. We committed to say we'll help where necessary. Because my journey with Dingaan and other athletes, because my previous record is that we're doing a lot of sponsorship, because I was with a company called Sandy Sponsorship. We're the first amongst the best in the country that would procure sponsorships for USASA, for Premier League, the PSL, the Rugby 95, which we did, the All Africa Games. And out of all these talents that we have seen around the country, we would formulate that at times would have our athletes to go and appear at schools or at the villages, basketball, where they will support the young and upcoming. So I appeal that let's not lose hope. I'm broken. I'm really broken because we have traveled this journey with one of the best, and I'm not being sympathetic about it. We had one man that I'll never forget in my life. When we went through the democracy, the late Steve Tshwete, the Minister of Sports, the late Minister of Sport, Steve Tshwete, because he came from humble beginnings. He understood the unification of sports without color. People had to be admitted in other sporting codes to prosper, to be better people. We went to Olympics, Atlanta, 96. We did Australia, we did Greece. Even though we're limited to see some of the boxing people that we loved so much to be part of this delegation because of the limitations that were given to our black athletes. And I appeal again, the quotas in our sporting codes, let us include these people. The last part of it that really breaks my heart. We were planning the last leg of Dingaan Thobela with Brian Mitchell. Brian, we had these meetings from last year. He wanted this event to happen Ka Heritage, and he wanted this event to happen Ko Sun City, where he won one of his best titles. I booked Sun City last year because we wanted to do it in September. But because we're waiting for people who always promise that they'll be part of the contributions of what we wanted to achieve, we're waiting for Mr. Stein from Stein City and other stakeholders to do the guarantees for this boxing event to happen. We had some of the legends for Tate, Double Champ. We're having it at the enclosed facilities to plan this whole event. And we had promised that we are going to make it a success. We then postponed this because of the contracts that were still supposed to happen between Brian Mitchell and Dingaan Thobela. Not all is lost. Even if we had postponed that event to the heritage of this month, it was by surprise that Dingaan left us. We were shattered because we wanted to make that bout a reality. Brian, you're going to get a whip. That's what he promised. Dingaan said, I want to whip Brian, even if it was going to be a friendly bout. He said, I want to give him those upper jabs so much, those uppercuts. I want him to get it. So be careful. He's going to give it to you while he's resting. While in his sleep in the mighty God, you're going to get it. So I appeal to those who are having that wallet to help our athletes. There's the Keshas, the Tau, all the boxers that are here. Even to look at the awards on Sunday, when they honored some of the sporting codes and the legends that were there. Not everybody that played a role in this country have been honored. There's a lot to be done. And to the family, I know it's very difficult. My children, I come a long way with you. Litiye. On Friday, Dingaan Jr. said to me, Mama, how am I going to do it? Because I was not a boxer. I said, hey, unfortunately, my child, you are named after the legends. So I don't know whether you're going to box or you're going to take that baton, you and your siblings, that through the foundation of Dingaan, all of you, my children, play that role. Make it happen through our help, all of us here. Let it happen. And I thank you.
egameni lenkosi yethu Jesu Kristu, amen. Namhlanje simile la singama-musician sizothi kwifamily yakwaThobela siduduzekani nathi sizelelana sizoduduzela namhlanje. Ngizothanda ukuthi kuwo wonke umuntu ningazibuzi ukuthi why ngalesi khathi, why uDingane, because usathane uzofika ney'mpendulo athi it's because anika ama-reason. Thando uzothi umkhulu baba, I surrender
ke tlo mo fa tsene 1
I surrender. All to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender.
Thank you very much there. Thank you to our friends from the music fraternity, friends of the family and friends of Dingaan Thobela. Also, we will give you further opportunities to come and sing. You're welcome to come up on stage. Also, if you want to sing, please feel free to come on stage. It is wonderful what you're doing in comforting us as well as the family. So thank you, Sis Kanyu. Thank you to Winnie Kumalo also. Thank you to Messi Pagela. Also, that is here. Looks like we're gonna have another fight here of the musicians. In the red corner and the blue corner. So Messi Pakele, you are next to lead us in song now. Kanyo and Sis Winnie have led us in song, and we are waiting for you to lead us next. But thank you, we really appreciate it. And moving right along, though a lot's been said about Brian Mitchell. I took shots at Brian Mitchell because I'm standing here. I'm so far away from him, so that's why I can take shots at Brian Mitchell. But I'm gonna give Brian Mitchell an opportunity also to come and speak for himself. But also say a few words to his close friend Dingaan Thobela. They were very close. We might have wanted them to fight, but they were very close outside the ring. I know at one stage Brian was also in the corner of Dingaan Thobela, the road warrior himself, a man who defended his title 12 times and mostly fighting outside of the country. If you can just come up and just say a few words, Brian Mitchell, a legend of the sport, and thank you for being here with us.
Thanks, everybody. I think if we can all stand and just give the late, great Dingaan Thobela, 3-time world champion, a great send-off. Thanks. Nobody's ever stood like that for me. Thank you. You may be seated. Ladies and gents, Bongani Makasela, thank you for inviting me to talk here today. I did the same as one of our earlier speakers. I wrote a lot of things down. Obviously, I am a commentator and I do speak a lot at functions, but it's not easy speaking at a funeral, and especially about a friend. I had a lot of notes writing down. I was asking my wife, what should I say? She said, you know what to say. And I couldn't even think of things because, you know, you're so devastated in losing a guy that's close to you, that's a friend of yours. So I wrote things down at my office at home, and then I just threw it away and I said, you know what, stuff that, I'm going to speak from my heart. So, yeah, here I am to talk about the late, great Dingaan Thobela. It's not a nice time to be talking about him. I'll go back to the beginning before I talk to you about what I think about the fight we should have had, how that would have gone. We go back to the 80s. You know, 1986, I won the WBA world title at Sun City, and Dingaan Thobela had won the South African title in the exact same weight. So now you've got Brian Mitchell, world junior lightweight champion, Dingaan, the Rose of Soweto, Thobela, South African junior lightweight champion. That's the belt that I just relinquished, and Dingaan, this young man took it over. I didn't know who he was, and one day they walked into our gym, and Norman Schlabani came there with his young man, Dingaan Thobela, met me, he wanted to spar with me. I said, no problem. Got in the ring and we sparred, and I said to them, yeah, this guy can fight. Yeah, where did he come from? They said, no, this is Dingaan Thobela from Soweto. He's a natural talent. He's a South African junior lightweight champion. And I must say what Rodney Berman was saying as well, and this includes myself. I would say Dingaan Thobela, if you have to pick somebody, if you have to pick one guy in South Africa and say who had the most natural talent ever, Dingaan Thobela would be the most naturally talented fighter to come out of Soweto, to come out of South Africa. And I really mean that. And we go back a long way. We were sparring partners. We were good friends. We did a lot of promotions together. Went to school, signed autographs for kids. I actually helped Dingaan a few times with how to structure financially, charging schools. He was like the late, great baby Jake McLeod as well, who was also a friend of mine. They would go to schools for nothing, you know, because they were such good people. They wouldn't charge for autographs. And I would say to them, trying to be a businessman myself, I would say, no, the school must pay you. Even if it's 2,000 Rand, whatever it is, instead of getting 5 grand, you charge 2 grand, you, the great Dingaan Thobela. And I helped him a bit like that, like I did with baby Jake. And he became a good businessman as well. And we did lots together. We did promotions at Sun City where he was a guest of mine. And we, all over the country, Dingaan Thobela and myself did functions and promotions. We met the late, great Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela loved Dingaan.
All right, Brian Mitchell there, remembering the late Dingaan Thobela.